Hello, welcome to this episode of the Martial Truth Podcast. He's a great fighter. But before we get into that, as always, again, channel's growing, closing in on 15,000 subscribers, up to 130 members. So it's growing. It's great. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody that's helping it to grow. Again, if there's a podcast you'd like to see, I'd be happy to do it. Someone just suggested I do a review of Kobudo weapons, a few of the different companies that are out there that I'm aware of, and talk about it. I won't talk about companies, obviously, that I haven't used their weapons, but I will talk about, certain companies, all right? So I'll do that maybe within the next couple of weeks, all right? So always click the like button, subscribe, share the videos if you like it. Much appreciated. Be in Okinawa before I know it. Be in New York in January for 4 days of seminars. If you're interested in that, I'll put the person to contact in the details section. All right. So let's talk about he's a great fighter. So, now I'm around a while, 45 years doing martial arts, traveled all over the world, okay, all over this country, everywhere, okay. And one of the things I would hear another sensei say to me is, yeah, so-and-so, boy, in his day, he was a great fighter. Oh, that guy over there, he's a phenomenal fighter, unbelievable fighter. And, in the beginning, I would just go, oh, okay, oh, good, that's nice, great, But then I started thinking, well, what do they mean exactly? Like, what are we talking about? He's a great fighter. So then I started literally asking that question of various sensei that would say that to me. Well, what does that mean? And they'd go, and then they roll their eyes and go, you know what I mean, Mike. And I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. That's why I'm asking you. Well, what does that mean? He's a great fighter. Well, he's a great tournament fighter. The guy won, championships all over the place, tournaments, Okay. So he's a great tournament fighter. Okay, that's great. Good. I agree. Okay. But let's be clear. And again, this is something I have a tendency to harp on, but I don't think people really get it. So it's got to be mentioned again and again, is being a good tournament fighter does not translate into being able to handle yourself in life and death situations. It's as simple as that. And then, I'd say to someone else, what do you mean by he's a good fighter? Well, he's really good in dojo. Like the guy, boy, he can handle pretty much everybody, He's only a shodan, but I see him handle the godans and the yondans, and, he's really good. He's really good. Okay, so again, we're talking about point fighting. Again, a karate sparring match, I've never seen one that looks like a real fight. Ever, okay? So, it's just the way it is, okay? Reality. So, again, I'm unopposed, all right? I'm not opposed to saying that guy's a great tournament fighter. That guy's great at kumite, at freestyle sparring. Like, his freestyle sparring is really good, okay? I mean, the guy's moves like lightning. His timing's right there. And that's a skill, too. There's nothing wrong with being good at that. I think it's good if you're good at that. And again, I never advocate anybody going out and getting real world experience because something bad could happen. Anybody's capable of making mistakes. I mean, a bunch of my situations, there were a handful where a mistake was made, and if I didn't turn that mistake around quick, I could have been in serious trouble. All right. I worked with other people that weren't able to turn that mistake around, and they were seriously hurt, okay? The difference I try to explain to people is when you're in law enforcement and someone decides to fight you, and here's what I'll explain, and I'm hoping to have a fellow law enforcement guest on over the next few weeks, okay? I'm not going to say who it is, but that's what I'm hoping for. So when one of us is engaged in a struggle with a criminal, a lot of times we don't know why the criminal is trying to hurt us. The criminal thinks we know. Like the criminal thinks as soon as I approach him because he did some minor violation that maybe I'm looking to give him a summons for, or maybe I'm just going to question him and then say, okay, listen, don't do that again. But no, not in his mind. In his mind, As soon as he sees me approach him, he thinks, oh, this guy knows I'm wanted for murder. Oh, this guy knows there's a warrant for me because I violated my parole. And if he gets me, I'm going back for 6 years. Okay, so now, again, normal people, law-abiding people, we don't think like this. The police come up to us and we're like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? You get pulled over, one of the first things you say, officer, what I do? Right? Okay, right? But criminals, they think you know what they did already. Okay? So they have a lot of incentive to not let you talk to them, possibly put them in handcuffs, and send them back for a long, long time. All right? One of the first times we did a sweep, that's where we arrest everybody that jumps over the turnstile in New York. One of the things that really helped get crime down, now they let everybody jump over the turnstile. Now it's like legal to not pay your fare, right? But one of the first ones we did, one of the first guys we grabbed, he was very cooperative, didn't fight, didn't resist, just came in with us, handcuffed him, no problem. I search him quick, no weapons, and my lieutenant starts asking him, hey, do you have any warrants? And the guy goes, no, I don't have any warrants. Pause. But this thing may come up that says I'm wanted in Poughkeepsie for 2 murders. Me and the lieutenant look at each other. The lieutenant says to me, Mike, search him again really good. And sure enough, that's what popped on him. Now, whether or not it was him, that's for later on. But the point is, it did pop and said he was wanted for 2 murders. Now, whether he did those murders, I don't know, because we're arresting him for something else. It's upon that other agency that put that warrant in there to decide whether or not to come get him or hold him, okay? But this is the kind of thing that you're dealing with as a police officer. So the other thing that the equation that changes when I'm fighting a criminal that's really trying to hurt me and take me out is I'm in possession of the weapon that will enable him to kill me. And that weapon is the gun. Now, in my case, most of the transit cops I worked with, we all carried 2 guns. You always carry 2 guns, okay? So I'm in possession of 2 things that he can kill me with. So if he gets the better of me and is able to overcome me and get my weapon, there's a chance that he will kill me, okay? And believe me, this has happened numerous times in the history of the NYPD and many police agencies all over the country. Right now, assault on police officers in New York City is up 44% since last year, and it's up 66% from the year before. So again, they're wondering why they can't get anybody to become a police officer. Well, there you go, right? Nobody supports them, okay? The general people do, but none of the leaders. They want to defund them. They're bad. The slightest mistake they make, they want to put them in jail, right? So, again, he's a great fighter. So when I think of someone that's a good fighter, I think of someone that's a good fighter for real situations. That's what I think. So, there's been several people I trained in my dojo, both civilians and a lot of law enforcement, that were very good fighters. And what do I base that on? Well, one of my civilian students is attacked by more than one person. He comes out on top with no injuries. Okay, that's pretty good. But as Master Liu Changyi has often said, he'll go, well, so you have all those trophies and you have all those medals. That's great. And the first time you really need your martial arts to save your life, you die. Maybe you should have carried all those medals around in a sack to hit the guy over the head with them, or carried a few trophies so you could beat the attacker with that. Because obviously they didn't help you when you really needed it. Okay. So I think it's time we need to change the definition of what we mean. So for me, I worked with a lot of people in law enforcement that never studied a martial art. And these were some very, very tough guys. Tough guys. Physically tough, knew how to fight, had their own techniques, had many an old timer, initially when I was on the job, I didn't tell anybody I knew martial arts. I didn't say anything. And then eventually what happened is a few times I got to a scene and they couldn't get a guy handcuffed, and I moved in and I managed to twist him into a pretzel and get the cuffs on, and the guys would turn and look at me like, and then finally people started asking me, and then I was honest. I said, yeah, I'd been training in martial arts for, at the time when I first came on the job, was about 10 or 11 years. So again, though, initially I made plenty of mistakes. I had to adjust my techniques. They weren't taught 100% correctly in the dojo I came out of. So I had to adjust them. And that was fine. You should. And I was lucky in all the fights I was in, and there's hundreds, I never was seriously injured. But, of course, did I get banged up? Oh, you can't. You can't engage in that many real fights and not get banged up. You take the guy down to the ground, the handcuff him, you don't realize you land on your knees hard. You don't realize you twist your ankle a little bit. Maybe this, you bang into a wall with the guy, or you both go down at a time. Yeah, there's a million things, okay? But the definition of a great fighter or a real fighter, to me, is someone that has proven they've defended themselves in actual combat. And again, you can have different categories, and that's what I think is important. Like, again, I look at a boxer, a real good boxer, and I really like boxing, okay? Not as much as I used to, but, the 70s and 80s, oh my God, I watched all the fights. I just loved it, right? I mean, how can you not say these guys aren't great fighters? They're great fighters. And again, because they're getting in a ring and they're engaging in mano-a-mano combat, right? They're tough guys physically. And again, against most average guys, that boxer hits the average guy, that guy's going to sleep. These boxers hit like a freight train, which makes me laugh at the karate guys that knock boxing. Right, okay. Oh, boxer, he only boxes. He doesn't use his feet. He doesn't do this. Yeah, okay. Get in a ring with a boxer and get hit. And then after they wake you up, tell me the guy can't fight. Tell me the guy can't hit. He can't generate power, okay? It's the same thing with the modern UFC athlete, okay? It's not something I watch a lot of, but on occasion I watch it, right? My sons are very into it, right? A lot of younger guys are into it. For me, it's just, it's okay. It's not great, right? But do I have respect for those guys getting into a ring and engaging in that kind of combat? Yeah. But again, let's just take a step back. It's one-on-one. There's a referee. There's a cage protecting them for the guy in the audience that decides he wants to jump in. It's the same with the boxing, right? So, we just need to keep that in mind. Again, combat is unlike anything else, all right? Like I've explained, I've broken people's arms in combat, and they kept right on fighting. Like, right on fighting. Now, obviously, after I got them handcuffed, and they calmed down, they were a mess. Like their pain, the guys would say to me, I got pain all over my body, officer, I got to go to the hospital. No problem. Well, you shouldn't have fought me. I know I shouldn't have fought you. So again, the difference is that life and death component. I don't think any boxer steps into the ring thinking he's going to die that night. I don't think any UFC fighter steps into the ring thinking they're going to die that night. I don't think any judoka steps into that circle and engages in a randori match in the Olympics and thinks he's going to die during the match. I don't think any collegiate wrestler, same thing. Well, there's a chance I might die. Now, of course, have boxers died? Yes. I'm not sure about UFC guys, but I'm sure there's probably one or two out there. Have guys doing point karate died? 100%, especially in the early days. When I started training, no protective gear. None. You had to have control. Okay, I love that word, control. Did I get hit? Yeah. Did I get hit hard? Yeah. Did I slip and hit guys hard? Yeah. Okay. And somebody go, oh yeah, but that's good, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, is it good? I don't know. Is it good? Okay. You got to go to work the next day. You got 2 broken ribs. Nose is broke, right? 3 teeth knocked out. It's costing you $5,000 to get your teeth fixed. I don't know. I don't know if it's good. Again, I've often said if I get hurt or if I die trying to save someone else, no problem. But, in Okinawa, in 1997, they had the grand open of the Okinawan Budokan. And either in 95 or 96, they had the pre-tournament. So in 97, they had the Okinawan World Karate Championships. So all the different Okinawan styles were invited. And people came from all over the world. It was a great event. I was there. Okay, it was great. I mean, great. I was considered a coach, and they warned us that there will be no contact. And why were they so adamant about no contact was because in the pre-tournament, a guy had been killed. The guy was killed, wife and kids he had. What was he killed for? He was killed for a medal. Okay, so he dies for a medal. For whatever happened, the judges weren't in control of the match. Things got out of hand. I spoke to some people that said there might have been a racial component involved, which if there was, pathetic. Okay, pathetic. All right, but there's no bringing that guy back. I mean, he's dead. You could look back in, Black Belt Magazine and other things and see where guys died in point fighting. Okay, again, is it worth it? I don't know. I don't do sports style sparring in my dojo. I haven't done it over 30 years. We do one-on-one fighting. A person attacks, and you defend yourself. So the other thing with these things of, he's a great fighter, and it turns out they mean he's a tournament fighter or whatever. Okay, so can he defend himself against a knife? Does he have any techniques for weapons, dealing with any kind of weapons? What about ground fighting? Can he fight on the ground? What about if he's in a chair? Can he fight in a chair? Can he fight it when his back is against the wall? What about against multiple opponents? How does he do against multiple opponents? Okay, and again, not in the sparring context. Okay, we used to do that too, 2-on-1 sparring. Now I look back on it and it's kind of stupid, right? But, in my dojo, I do multiple opponent drills. We do work a lot against the knife. We do work a lot against the gun. Then on occasion, club, occasion baseball bat, occasion chain, okay? We do work some ground fighting, but I'm not doing ground fighting where you're putting the guy in a triangle choke, okay? My ground fighting is hit the guy, hurt him, get back up, finish him off, because if you don't get back up, his friends are going to start stomping on your head. So, for those of my Ishinru friends, Tatsuo Shimabuku had ground fighting techniques. So in the so-called secret scrolls, right, the thing that, they call the self-defense techniques, the 25 techniques Tatsuo used to teach the Marines before they left to go back to the States. Okay, there was ground fighting techniques. There was knife defense. So I asked someone recently in an interview, when is the last time you saw an Okinawan master work against a knife, work knife defense? And he said to me, I've never seen it. This is a guy that lives in Japan. And I said, when's the last time you saw them work gun disarms? Never seen it. Okay. When's the last time you saw them work ground fighting? Can't remember the last time I saw any Okinawan master work ground fighting. Okay, that's fine. Again, Okinawa is very safe. But I do karate for self-defense. And again, that doesn't mean everybody I train is going to be able to fight. Why not? Well, because again, life and death combat is a very different animal from sport fighting. That first time that someone really tries to kill you, to say it's a bit of a shock to your system would be an understatement. Okay? I had a police officer years ago. I come walking in for my tour. I was already senior. I'd been on the job for a long time. Had a certain reputation for being able to handle myself. And as I walked in, and I got these two hulking guys, cops that I worked with, very tough guys, okay? Not martial arts guys, very tough guys, could both fight, okay? And they go, hey, listen, Calandra, we got to talk to you. Yeah, so-and-so yesterday, guy tried to throw him on the tracks. I said, okay, is he all right? They said, yeah, he didn't get thrown on the tracks. He was holding on to the steel girder on the subway platform. This guy, cop's in full uniform. He was holding on to the steel girder when we got there. The guy was trying to yank him off the steel girder to throw him on the tracks. So again, people don't realize that subway platform, the drop from the subway platform down to the tracks, that's a good 6 feet. It's a good drop. You get thrown on the steel tracks or the ties, I mean, you can get seriously injured. You get dropped on your head or neck, you could break your neck, a skull fracture, you can get seriously hurt. So you do not want to get pushed or thrown on tracks, okay? So they asked me if I could talk to the guy, So I saw him, I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, good. He goes, good. But you can tell he's a little, I said, so what happened yesterday? He said, I approached this guy. One thing led to another. He grabbed me, tried to throw me on the tracks. I grabbed onto the girder and I held on for dear life, and he was trying to yank me off, and I knew if he yanked me off, he'd throw me, so I was holding on for dear life. And I looked at him and I said, transit cops don't get thrown on the tracks. You let go with one hand, you get your gun out, and you shoot that guy. He's trying to use lethal force against you. You shoot him, and you save your life. He goes, oh, I just never experienced that before. I said, how long are you on, police officer? He said, a little over 3 years. I said, so in 3 years, you've never gotten in a physical altercation with a guy? He said, no. That's how safe New York City had gotten at that point. When I became a transit cop, within the first couple of weeks, you were in a physical altercation. And then you were in them all the time. It's just the way it is. I mean, criminals resist. Okay. This idea that if you just ask the criminal, oh, sir, just please put your hands behind your back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, on occasion, one of them does that. And that's very good. Great. Okay, look, no problems, right? And then in my own case, eventually, I had a reputation. And then the word spreads amongst the criminals. I worked in the same area for 15 years. They started, remember, there's not a lot of criminals, but there's a hardcore group of them. They started to know who I was. And certain ones, as soon as I'd go to grab them, they'd resist, and I'd start applying the technique, and they'd go, okay, and they immediately put their hands behind their back. And then later on, they'd say to me, oh, you're that jiu-jitsu guy. I saw you fight a friend of mine a few months ago down that same subway station, and I thought I recognized you, but as soon as I felt you start to put that lock on me, I knew right away, there's no way I'm fighting this guy. Great. I don't have to hurt him. I don't risk the chance of me getting hurt. But again, different, okay? The fact that you're not carrying that gun, so you're not in possession of the weapon that he could take from you and kill you with it, means a great deal. It's a criminal mentality. If he's killed people before, okay. If he stabbed people before, he's not going to hesitate to cut you. Okay. If he's shot people before, he's not going to hesitate to shoot you. Okay. Never had the situation where I allowed the guy to pull the gun on me. Soon as he reached, I closed in, prevented him. Okay. Same thing with knives. Soon as the guy reached for the knife, I grabbed him, stopped him. Okay. So again, you put yourself in a position where you have the advantage. If you're too far away, you can't close the distance and do that. All right. But again, that comes with a certain level of confidence that you can move in. So I just think we want to be more specific in how we rate someone as a fighter. Okay. If you're a sport fighter, okay, and you've pretty much done sport fighting, all right, and then the first time you get into a real fight, you don't do so well, okay. Maybe you need to reevaluate your training, all right? The thing to realize is the life and death fighting experience cannot be reproduced in the dojo. Any instructor that says he can reproduce it, this is going to be like it's real. I am telling you now it's not, okay? The things that go on with your body when it's life and death is dramatically different from getting into the sparring match with the guy who's your antagonist in the dojo. Okay? No, there's no comparison. When it's real, there's a lot of stuff going on with the body. That's why, my standard joke is I worked with a lot of overweight cops. I never heard of a cop pulling a hamstring chasing a guy. I never heard of a cop pulling a hamstring getting into a fight with a guy. But I watch $20 million baseball players run down the first baseline and come up lane with a pull hamstring. And the reason for that is because it's a sport. There's no threat to his life. In life and death, those chemicals dump in, they prevent your muscles from being pulled. Why? Well, because we were running from saber-toothed tigers. We were running from bears that wanted to eat us millennia ago. And that's still in our body, that reptilian mind, that dump, that things that go on with the body when it's life or death. You cannot recreate it. Okay? Believe me, you're going to your car and you've done knife techniques a million times in the dojo, and now the guy pulls the real knife on you, holy shit, it's going to be an eye-opening experience. You're probably going to get cut, and hopefully you come out on top and you don't get seriously hurt, but it's going to be an eye-opening experience. All right. So let's be careful about who we say is a great fighter and be a little bit more specific. Okay. I work with cops, never did a martial art in their life. You didn't want to fight these guys. A lot of them would take your average martial artist apart. Why? Because they don't hesitate. They've been in life and death fights for real with people trying to kill them. They don't hesitate, and they'll do whatever they have to do to win. Okay. Couldn't tell you how many times in the dojo when I do eye gouges and eye techniques and strike in the throat and do those over and over again, how people kind of go like this and they get squeamish and, I don't know if I could poke the guy in the eye. Yeah, okay, well, again, you're going to have a problem in combat. So, and again, you're not allowed to go for the eyes in a points fighting match. You're not allowed to go for the eyes in the UFC. Okay? You're not allowed to go for the eyes in judo. You're not allowed to go for the eyes in boxing. Okay? So, just keep in mind, reality is a very different animal. So let's be specific about who we say is a great fighter. Maybe we need to say, well, he's a great warrior, the guy that actually engages in combat. Musashi was a great warrior. Survived 60 duels, multiple battlefield combat. Okay. Lived. Died of old age. Audie Murphy, right? The most decorated soldier in World War II. For my younger watchers, you can look him up. Medal of Honor winner. You read his story and what he did. Oh my God. Okay. He's a warrior. All right. So there's a difference. And I just wanted to talk about this subject a little bit because I think we're too often too quick to say someone's a great fighter. And really what we mean is they're a great sportsman. They're a great tournament fighter. They're a great UFC fighter. They're a great judo fighter. They're a great boxer. But have they engaged in life and death fighting? Okay, that's the question. So hope you've enjoyed this one. Just wanted to broach this subject a little bit different take on some things, okay? We'll get back to some other stuff. I know people really like the generating power video, so I'll look to do some more of that. Maybe next time I'll talk about some Kobudo weapons and who I think are making great weapons right now. Please, if you like it, click the like button, share, subscribe, consider becoming a member. Look forward to seeing some of you in Okinawa. Okay, I'm going to be reconnecting with Patrick McCarthy. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be great. I know a lot of people liked the Yannick Schultz interview. That was great, and hopefully have some more in the near future. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks. Take care.